Hey guys, I should be live. This is going to be fun today. This is Caroline Onyedinma here, and I'm here to go through some stuff, some background information on our 30-day cohort, Sold with Stories. A lot of you have signed up. I'm really excited. The 30 days are fast approaching, and we get into it really quickly. As soon as the cohort starts, we get into it. So I'm here to just go through the framework and the background of the program, how it works. If any of you haven't signed up yet, you're more than welcome to sign up. There's quite a few people on this cohort, so we're really excited. You can see the URL there with soldwithstories.com. Sign up. Once the sprint has started, once the cohort is underway, then you can't join, I'm afraid. You have to wait till the next cohort. So I'm really excited. And we're going to use this background. We're going to use this mini training that I'm doing. It will also be inside the program. So even before a cohort starts, for those who have already enrolled, you're going to be able to understand what you're doing, right? Because we move really fast. It's not coaching, it's implementation. And every day you've got a task to do, right? So make sure that you watch this, okay? Wherever you are, if you're watching it, if I've published it before the actual program, if you're watching it inside the program, or if you're in the exclusive members group, make sure you watch this because it's going to give you an overview and you're going to know exactly how this thing rolls and what you should be doing, okay? So let me just make sure that I can get my technology to behave how I want it to behave. And then I'm going to be cooking on gas with this, all right? So let's move this around. See what we got here. Great. So yeah, guys, the reason why I'm so excited about stories is because humans are story junkies. And so in this 30-day cohort, we're going to give them their daily fix, right? Their daily fix of messaging, their daily fix of stories that's going to have them eaten out of your hands, so to speak. It's going to be really exciting. Let me know if you're excited about that. Maybe you've been not consistent with your messaging, or maybe you haven't really understood how to your message, what you should be saying. Maybe you have a new offer that you want to test out, but you don't know the angle. You don't know exactly what to say to get people's attention, right? Maybe you want to launch, right? So maybe you're in launch mode and you don't have the sign-ups that you want. People don't really understand what you're about, so you've got lukewarm attendance to your launches. That's why messaging is really important, and why the stories are so important, because you know, even if you're somebody that likes to launch, you have to prep your audience before the launch process, right? So we don't, get ready. We stay ready with messaging. We stay ready with these stories, because once you've been participating and practicing these stories and publishing them, you pretty much have a really pliable audience, and anything you ask of them, they're really open to it because they have connection with you. And we can't build connection overnight, right? Well, sometimes you can do, but real deep-seated, lasting connection takes time. So we're going to use these stories as our secret weapon to build that connection. All right, and that's how it works. I'm not going to go into the whole background of stories. I know you've heard them, but I want you to understand that the stories that we're telling don't have to start with once upon a time and end with they all lived happily ever after. They're not these really long stories where you have like the hero's journey and all these act 1, scene 2, act 2, scene 2, those kind of stories. But I'm not trying to make you screenwriters, guys. These stories are literally 300-word stories that can be published on social media to build a following, to build an audience of people that wait and want to hear from you. And there's so much content out there these days. There's so much content overload. So what we don't want is our message to get lost in the sea of sameness, because that's what's going to happen. So we use stories to put respect on our name and to get people to pay attention to what we're saying. Because if you can get people to sit still for like a few minutes to read your story, you're going to be ahead of the curve, because there's so much content out there. We're scrolling, but are we really taking anything in? Is anything really memorable? And that's the problem that we have now. So we're trying to fix that, okay? And I'm really excited because that's what we're doing. So let me go through the framework. You know why stories. I'm not going to go into a big backstory about why stories, because right, we read stories every day, and stories don't have to look like what you traditionally think they look like, right? They don't have to look like that. I have my own way of telling stories. I have my own story framework, and the purpose of these stories are really to build an audience, okay, to explain your offer, to explain your vision, your values, the value that you have, and to expose your personality. Because a lot of content writing these days is devoid of your vibe, devoid of your personality. And it's that uniqueness that makes you endearing, that attracts us to you. If 10 people are doing the same thing and you are amongst those 10 people, but you have a personality that resonates with your ideal client, they're able to, ignore everybody else and go straight to you just because of your vibe, whatever that vibe is, right? We're looking for alignment. And that's why I'm showing you how to write these stories that just expose a true, authentic you. And there's nobody who has your fingerprint in this world. And so from your fingerprint, you can kind of build your own blueprint online. And you're going to have a style that no copywriter can copy. No copywriter can get your voice the way that you're going to be able to write, in the way that you're able to write these stories, because they're not you. So you're going to be able to write these stories at a drop of a pin. You're going to be able to articulate your value at the drop of a hat. And it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to be able to help you do that. All right. So let's get to, and if anyone's got any comments, that's fine. Comment away. Okay. So I've said that stories are, humans are story junkies, right? And so we're going to give them their daily fix in this process. So how does that work? Let me show you. Okay, so this is the Sold with Stories framework, okay? So the program is called Sold with Stories. It's a 30-day digital writing cohort where we're going to leverage the power of short stories, 300-word stories, to get your message across, right? So think of your message as the opinion or point of view or the signal that you want to send to your audience, and you pour your message into a story and you encapsulate your story into a Facebook post. That's the content. So it's almost like the message goes in the story goes into your a post, and a post becomes content, right? So yes, we're content writing, but there's so many different ways to do it. So stories take you all the way back to messaging. And as a messaging strategist, this is one of the key ways that I get people to be able to speak their truth, articulate their value, and just be confident with their process and how to explain their offer. And the first thing I want to take you through is my proprietary framework called the Story Slay CTA framework. I want you to get that in mind, because this is foundational to these 30 days. Once you understand this, it's going to be very simple for you to message, guys. It's going to be really simple. I'm excited for that. Okay, so let's talk about this. In the story part, which is the part one of the first pillar of this framework, you have positioning. And what I want you to understand is I have identified 4 types of stories, okay, that will position you in a certain way. It's not just one story that you're telling. You're telling 30 stories over 30 days that microdose your value to your audience. You want to get to the point of message saturation, where people have been exposed to every single angle of your vision, values, offer, positioning, all of that great stuff. And you can't just do that with one webinar in 45 minutes, right? People need time to process stuff. And so this is why this stuff is really, really powerful. So in the positioning, we're going to choose a story type, whether it's mechanical story types really are to do with your offer, right? So to do with the very technical part of your offer, how it works, what the benefits are, why, who it's for, what's unique mechanism, what is the process of transformation, all that kind of stuff, which is the logical stuff that we usually see on a sales page, or we usually try to articulate. Because, there are some people who really want to know the details of the offer, right? And then the second story type are mental story types. And these types are to do with limiting beliefs. They're to do with mindset. They're to do with disarming objections. They're to do with all the things that we need to change people's minds, right? To change their identity around your topic, your niche, to bring them to become a true believer of whatever you're trying to persuade them on, right? So those are different type of posts. It's a different type of post, a mental post. Then we have the mindful posts, and these kind of stories are designed to set you up as a thought leader, right? Thought leadership, marketing, and content is very different from just normal content that we see out there. The thought leadership content will put respect on your name, you know, for the very reason that maybe someone like Elon Musk does so well on Twitter. When he tweets, people talk, okay? And that's what we want. We want thought leadership. So those are stories where you expose your ideology, your new ideas. They instigate change. They challenge thinking. They present things in a new way. And as experts, I think it's really important, if you want to dominate your niche, or if you want to stand out from the rest, that you really look at thought leadership, so that you're not the same old. It really separates people. It really puts people in this upper echelon, which gets you more respect. And that's what we're doing, right? We want authority, an audience. To build an audience, you need authority, right? And then last one is magical. And I love magical. And what do I mean by magical? I mean stories that connect with the heart. They connect with our emotions. Because especially if you're selling high ticket offers, it's not the logic of your offer that usually gets somebody to convert. There has to be a whirlwind romance, right? Where you're just like, you know, assaulting their senses, and you're creating these emotions that are so powerful. And you can do that with the magical kind of stories that talk about the future, that talk about the dream, that talk about the desire, that talk about the happy ending, that paint an amazing picture of the future, right? That talk to the things that make people just sit up, and that lights up your audience's soul. It doesn't have to be rational. We're going to look at these irrational things. And those are magical kind of stories. And those stories are so important because, you know, I know people feel that it will take a really long time to nurture somebody, but you can literally put a magical story out and someone just become aware of you that day, or run into your content that day, and they'll be in your DMs asking how can they work with you, or telling you how they were so moved by that story, or they were so moved by your point of view, or the way that you made them feel, right? Because our feelings, okay, it's not facts, it's feelings that actually moves the needle. Many times, most times, when it comes to high ticket selling, afterwards we may go back and say, actually, what did I buy? But it's happened to the best of us, including me, that I bought things from people or I've zoned into their, you know, brand, or I've contacted them because they just stirred something in my soul, right? So that's the positioning. And then you're going to get a prompt. So every day for 30 days, you're going to get a story prompt. You're going to get a story drop, okay? And how does that work? The story drop is really simple. It's a 10-minute story drop, guys. It's not long, and I did that on purpose. I don't want it to be long. It's a 10-minute story drop where I give you the story of the day, right? So they're set stories that I want you to write. I'm going to tell you what the story is and the idea behind the story, and that and what that connects to. So guys, it's not long training or long coaching, which is the fun part. Not long training, not long coaching. It is literally a 10-minute directive. It's a story drop where I give you the mission of the day, okay? And I give you the idea behind it. And then you jot down from that story, right? Everyone can decide what their purpose is with that story. I tell you the purpose, but you can go deeper. And you have to understand, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do, right? Really exciting. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do? You have to know the purpose of the story. Why are you writing this story? And then, right, you formulate a plot. You formulate a story based on a story idea, right? So you're going to narrate a story or a situation, a scenario, a circumstance. And guys, it doesn't have to be your own story. It doesn't have to be a story that you personally have experienced. There's so many stories around us. And remember, these are not long movies, right? It could be a thought, an idea. You have to understand what these stories are, what stories mean. A thought, an idea. I see stories every day in Facebook groups where people talk about their personal circumstances or a scenario that's happened. We see stories when we're out walking about. People tell us stories all the time. There's stories on TV. There's metaphors that we get from television. There's, situations that you see everywhere. Everything is a story, guys. As long as you can glean some meaning from it, an idea from it, a moral of the story, a lesson, everything is a story. And many of those stories can be connected, right, if you understand how, to a principle, a point of view, a perspective that connects to your offer, all right? So these stories will highlight something bigger and better. So what I want you to understand is we're not just telling stories in isolation for education and entertainment. No, 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 no. There's a purpose to these stories. It will lead people back to your offer. It will highlight a certain angle on your offer. It will highlight your vision, your value, your vibe, right? That's why we're creating these stories. And once you get into the habit of doing that, you're going to get to a point where you hardly have to launch, go through this big launch process, because people are already exposed to everything that you have to say, to everything that you stand for, pertaining your offer, pertaining your business, or pertaining your brand. There's a connection like no other, right? It's the depth of relationship that you're looking at, not the duration of the relationship. Capiche? We good with that? Great. So I'm going to move over to talk about the slave pillar of this. Excuse me. Sorry, I messed with my controls there. So we're going to talk about the slave pillar. So let me go over here and talk to you about what the second pillar is. So on the slave, the reason why we have the slave pillar, it's really important because remember I told you these stories are not for entertainment, okay? They are to change people. They are to their conversion stories, right? And many times, if we want to convert somebody on our offer, on our way of thinking, there's limiting beliefs, there's mindset, there's stories that they actually have, negative stories that are blocking them from buying what you have to offer, or blocking them from seeing your point of view. Because let's be honest, everybody has a story that counteracts your story, right? If I ask somebody and I say to somebody, well, you should start selling high ticket, and they're like, well, I can't. Well, that comes from a story. It might be I tried before and I had a launch that flopped when I made the price too high. That story sticks in their head, and therefore they're justified in feeling the way that they do. And it's your job to disarm those things. It's your job to encourage them. It's your job to persuade. If you want people to become a true believer in your course, your point of view, or your program, right? These stories are very strategic. They're not normal stories, guys. They're short, but they pack a punch and they're powerful when I show you how to create them. And so what happens is after you tell a normal story, so you're going to tell some kind of story based on a story prompt, you're going to have a segue. What is a segue? It's a seamless transition to your point of view. Look at the segue as almost like it's the glue between the abstract story that has no correlation to your offer or your point of view, and your point of view, or your principle, or your persuasion. It's almost like a DJ, right, that mixes really well, right? 1 minute you're dancing to R&B, boom. Next minute you're dancing to Afrobeat. It's the transition. And that's what a segue is. So we go through some powerful segues that are out there, right? So we're going to go through some powerful segues. And then we talk about your point of view, which I call the one sentence mic drop, right? So you're going to you're going to bring up a idea or a point of view that you now want to argue, right? Because, we're slaying objections, we're positioning ourselves, right? So there's a point of view. And that's your wisdom. That's your principle. That's what you stand on. And everyone should have a point of view, right? Especially for the certain stories that we're telling. We're, challenging the status quo. We're dropping the old way of doing things. We want people to do things our way. That's why they're buying our offer. So you have a point of view, and then we have some persuasion, because, listen, we're not going to be like these people out here that can't string an argument together. I've seen a lot of people, especially on social media, when there's a bone of contention or when people want to get their point across, instead of engaging in critical thinking, or what they do is they give their opinion, or they say, well, that's how I think, or that's how it is, and they don't know how to string an argument together. And sometimes when they can't string an argument together, they just resort to insults, right? So you have to have some kind of intellectual thinking or a process to put forward your point of view. You just can't say because I said so, right? That doesn't work. That's not how we persuade. So the persuasion, we're going to use the Blair Warren principle. And if you don't know who Blair Warren is, he has an amazing short book that talks about one sentence persuasion. Okay? And his persuasion, because there's lots of different ways to persuade. But what I want you to know is that we're not doing boring how-to persuasion in this story sprint. That's not really how I'm going to captivate people's hearts, right? So we're really heavy on emotion. We're really heavy on the magical kind of persuasion. And that really means, because we're talking to humans, and humans often go by feelings, not facts, okay? Even though fact is important, we're going to encourage their dreams. We're going to justify their failures. We're going to allay their fears. We're going to confirm their suspicions and help them throw rocks at their enemy. And that's a famous line from Blair Warren. So I'm making it very simple for you guys to argue your point without having to have a whole PhD in debating. No. We don't have time for that, because these are 300-word stories. And the reason they're 300 words is you're going to write these stories in a very short space of time. I want you to develop your digital writing skills, and I want you to flex those messaging muscles. And I don't want it to be laborious. I don't want it to be really time consuming. I want you to learn how to message on the fly. The next thing we do after that is we present our solution. But guys, we're not teaching. These are not educational posts that we're putting out most of the time. So it said we're going to present our new way or our new perspective or the switch. Now you've persuaded and you've got these new believers, or now you've enlightened or enriched people. So we don't teach how to, but we want to. The solution is, how does your offer, right, resolve this issue? Or why is it important to look at your offer as a solution? Because if we have well-crafted offers, and this is not an offer program, guys. So if you have well-crafted offers, or if you are the offer, meaning you're offering your time, you should be able to connect that story, okay, with the segue, point of view, some persuasion, and come out at the other end, right, positioning your offer as a great solution. But you don't have to teach about how you solve it per se, not in these kind of stories. There's other times that we do that, right? But what you're going to do is point them to where the solution is. Point them there, but you're still giving value. You're still giving enough insight, so you don't feel, it doesn't seem like you're just making stuff up, or it doesn't seem like you don't have a process or you don't have a framework. But in 300 words, we're not trying to educate people on that level. And let me tell you why. I know there's a lot of people who talk about these kind of educational posts, right? Or posts that really argue a point. But what happens on social media is that you see people writing these really long blog post kind of posts that really should be out on their blog, and people are not reading them, right? No matter how good they are. We kind of read the top, we scroll through and we skim to see if anything stands out, and then we read the conclusion because they're just too long. So it's wasted. So we're really going to counteract that by being succinct and being brief, but still packing a punch, okay? And then there's a summary, and we're going to have this great summary where you're going to really condense what you're saying, right? What you think and feel, right? Because people should understand your position and how you're coming across. Really simple, okay? So I call this section the motivator. We have a captivator and you have the motivator, and then we go to the CTA. Because guys, the last thing I want, let me just say that really quickly. The last thing I want, guys, is for your stories or your messaging or your content to have you in the friend zone. So that's when you get a lot of engagement, or you get what I call deluxe lurkers, right? People who are watching your content, people who are reading your content, but then they sigh, they sniggle, they giggle, and then they move away. And then that's the end of that. So that's not the purpose of these stories. We're driving sales, guys. That's what we're doing. We're audience building, and we're creating authority, and we're driving sales. Really important. So the third way to do that, the third way to do that is to move over to the next pillar, which is the CTA, right? So the CTA, okay, is how we drive people to the next step. What do we want them to do at the end of this story? So many people forget the CTA. Compelling CTA is really important. And so what do I want you guys to know about the CTA? There's a why, there's a what, there's a sign off, and there's a PF. So it's not just, hey, check me out here. And there's different kinds of CTAs, right? So the call to action, right? I call them activators, really, right? Because we activate some kind of movement, right? We activate what we want them to do. We put them to work, okay? So there's a call to engagement, a call to inquire, and call to enlist, or a call to enroll. And different posts will have a different CTA type on there, right? Sometimes we want people to engage. Some people want them to inquire in a DM. Sometimes we want them to get on our list, and sometimes we want them to sign up for something. Really, really straightforward. And then on a sign off, what we do in there, on a sign off, you're going to learn how to endear your people and sign off. So, you seal those love letters, you sign off your name or whatever. What's your signature sign off, guys, right? You need a signature sign off, every single one of you, so people know that they're talking to a real person. You're going to humanize yourself. You're not going to be seen as another number out there or another person that just posts stuff and they don't really know who you are. We want connection. So you're going to do it really simple to do that with a sign off. And then we're going to have the PS, because people often scroll, right? All you scrollers will scroll to a PS. You see that the hook and the PS are usually consumed. So we're not going to waste that area. We're going to make sure we have a great PS. We're going to tell you what goes on in the PS, right? So you've got the story, slay, CTA. That's the structure of every single story, guys. Story, slay, CTA. Can you all say it with me? I don't want you to think of it as being this big block, 7 beats to a story, or 12 acts, or 15 paragraphs. All you have to know is that when you're creating these stories, story, slay, CTA, right? Once you get that concept, you're going to be good. I told you, guys, I got you. You're going to be writing these stories in 30 minutes or less. Once you develop your messaging muscles, 10 minutes to watch the story drop, 20 minutes or so to write the story. You might take a little bit longer when you first start out, right? That's normal. But as you get into it, you're going to be good, right? So that's the story, slay, CTA framework that goes on with Sold With Stories, the 30-day cohort. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, now you understand the framework, how does that translate into actually writing the content? I'm not just going to leave you out there to write this content from scratch. A lot of people are getting really worried, right? Like, how am I going to actually do this? So you're going to develop your messaging muscles with my 30-30-30 principle. 30 days, right, in the cohort, 30 minutes, right, of applying yourself every day, and you're going to come up with 30 stories. Powerful, right, guys? And I've had a lot of people say, well, I have to do it when I have more time, or I'm going on vacation, or I've just had a baby, all of this stuff. And this is what I say. If you can't take 30 minutes a day to build your audience, then you're probably not going to be able to build an audience, right? You need to learn how to be consistent. It is better to be basically consistent than to be really excellent, right? So you can be basically consistent. You can do basic. The stories don't even have to be stunning, right? But it is the compounding effect of your consistency that's going to allow you to win. So what I'm saying, even if in this cohort you can't do all 30 days, you can do your best. And wherever you stop, you just carry on the next day and do the next story. But we want some kind of consistency, because, even for you guys that go to the gym, you can't just weight train one day and expect to, have, abs and biceps and all that kind of stuff straight away. Take some consistency and you start getting used to it. So just like you train your body, you have to train your messaging muscles. 30 minutes a day. Okay, 10 minutes of that is watching a story drop. And then 30 stories are going to come out. So for all those people that say, I can't write stories, I need to get a copyright, I want to write a book, all of this kind of stuff. All of these stories, great content. And the great thing about it is that you can get to repurpose it. So I'm going to talk to you how the story structure works, because now I know people are saying, I'm not a copywriter. I can't do this by myself. I'm going to get my copywriter to write these stories. But guys, I've made it easy for you with the story structure, because I'm going to give you, once you accept the story mission of the day, there's story structures, right? So really, it's really simple. Okay, first of all, you're going to choose a platform that you're going to be consistent on. Consistency is the name of the game. Let me just take a sip. You're going to choose a platform that you are going to be consistent on, okay? And I know a lot of people are like, can I post on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn? It doesn't matter, but for the 30 days, just choose one platform that you're going to be consistent on, all right? Focus Focus, focus, focus. I promise you, you're going to see a result if you focus. Stick to one platform, and not just the platform, stick to one place on the platform. So for instance, if you're posting on Facebook, decide if it's going to be in a certain group or if it's going to be on your profile. Even if you want to post in groups, fine. But I want you to be consistent in one place. And let's make sure that the place is conducive to your audience finding you. You don't want to be in a place, especially when you have your own Facebook group. The point of this exercise is audience building. You're not building your audience if you're just posting your Facebook group, because nobody new is discovering you, because you've got the walls around your Facebook group where people can't see it. It's better that you post where you're visible, all right? And where you can be discovered and other people can connect to you. So I don't want you just posting in a Facebook group where you've got like 300 people, because it stays there. And you feel like you're doing so much work, but you're really not getting a result. Well, that's because you've closed off your content. So we're not doing that, guys, right? So not just the platform, the place on the platform. And it has to be a place that you're discoverable. And then what time? Let's be consistent with the time that we're going to actually write our content, right? The story drops go out around 6 a.m. EST every day. So that if you're somebody who goes to the gym, or if you're somebody who goes for a morning walk, if you're somebody who gets up early, you're going to have enough time to listen to the 10 minutes, okay? You can listen to it by audio. You can listen to it. It's a video drop, but you can listen to the audio as well when you're walking, if you're on a treadmill. So you've got enough time to let that marinate. But what I would ask you is that whatever your time zone is, that you write the story before 12 o'clock p.m. Okay, don't write the story at 10 o'clock. Don't leave it till the last minute, because we want it to get reach. So the earlier the better, but be consistent with the time that you're going to write your story. All right, because when you structure your writing spree like that, it becomes easier, and then you're not playing games with this cohort. Hey, I didn't do it at 9 o'clock, I'll do it at 2 o'clock. Hey, I didn't do it at 2 o'clock, I'll do it at 7 o'clock. Procrastinating and put it off. No, be disciplined, guys. And then you should know what audience you want to attract. We're not going through niche selection, all that kind of stuff in this. But what I will say, what comes first, the offer or the audience? Even if you don't have an offer, the audience always comes first, because you can't sell anything if you don't have an audience. So whether you're coming up with a new idea, you want to test out a new offer, all that good stuff, whether you're going to go and launch, you should be nurturing and building your audience. You should always be audience building. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So a lot of people say, well, I don't have an offer. I'm saying, well, even better, because that's the best time to build an audience, right? Because if you build an audience and you build connection with that audience, you can sell them anything. Amazing. And so then you have to know what kind of offer you're selling. We're not going in, this is not our offer creation program. But if you don't know what offer you're selling, then you can always put yourself forward as the offer. Consultancy time with you. The offer doesn't have to be paid even. It could be get on a wait list or get on a call. It does. If you haven't got a paid offer or a link, it doesn't matter. You can be the offer. So there's no excuse for not having an offer. You either sell your time and ask people to get on a call with you. If you might have a coaching program, whether you've got a product, whether you've got a digital course, whether you've got templates, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be high ticket or low ticket. That's fine. We're building an audience with a mind to drive them closer to our offers. Okay. All right. So now we know with the position, right? So there's a position, what we're doing, the positioning, then we go into the pen. And the pen is when are we going to craft, how are we going to craft these actual posts, these stories? Well, I do help you with story structures, which are templates, but what they are not are scripts, because the whole point of getting you to flex your digital writing skills and messaging muscles is that you can't keep relying on scripts so that you're not going to be rigid, right? So what I do is I'm going to give you what I call the top and tail of the story, where I'm going to give you a hook, right? And I'm going to give you a call to action. And the hooks I call captivators, because that's the most important part of the story. If you don't stop somebody scroll, they're going to miss your story. So I'm going to give you some ideas for the captivator. Well, there's going to be an idea in every template. So captivator you're going to get. And it's going to be a nice idea. You can use that as is. You can change it up a little bit, or you can use the sentiment of the captivator to create your own. And then there's going to be an activator, a call to action at the end, right? So it's almost like I've top and tailed your story, an activator and a captivator. And possibly a segue in the middle so that you know how to kind of transition into your perspective and point of view. And in the middle, you're going to add the motivator, which is when we went back in the slides where I showed you your vision, your values, your point of view, whatever that is. There'll be some prompts in the story structure so that, you know, you'll get your creative juices flowing. But I'm not writing the story for you in that. It's not a fill in the blanks, right? So it's not filling the gaps. Those things are so soul-sucking, okay? It doesn't expose your personality. It doesn't give you room to think. I'm not trying to make you robotic. I want you to flow. I want you to add your voice. I want you to write how you think and feel. Don't try and be polished. Don't try and do too much, okay? And these stories are 300 words. Don't try and write too much, okay? And just get in that habit. But because you know the story prompt, you're going to have guardrails to run around in, but boundaries within that fluidity. All right, makes sense? Good. And then we're going to publish, right? So before we publish, we're going to dress up these stories a little bit, put some swag on these stories, right? Emojis, spacing so it's easy to read, bullet points, that kind of stuff. So they're going to look like beautiful pieces of works of art, right? Creative pieces, you know, stories that look good, that are dressed well, are easier to read. So we want people to actually read these things. We're going to post, whether you want to do it manually or automated is fine, or schedule it. But listen, I may or may not be on vacation at the time. I can write on the notes on my phone and post. It's not a big deal. And then you're going to engage and comment and connect with the people who are reading your stories. And you can engage and connect with other people's stories who are in the cohort, because everybody is going to register their story on the post of the day. So in the group, there's going to be a post of the day where, you know, you'll say, it will tell you what story was supposed to go out today. And all you're going to do is put a link to your story. And that's why your story has to be discoverable. It can't be behind a paywall, can't be in a private group where we can't see it. It has to be visible, guys, so that everybody can read it wherever you put that story. And I feel social media is the best place because it's the easiest place for it to get shared, for people to comment, for you to get immediate feedback. And then it would be nice if you track your metrics so that you know what stories really resonated, which ones drove engagement, which ones even led to a sale, right? Because each story, the call to action, is going to tell people what you want them to do. And then you can think about how you want to repurpose, but that's outside the scope of this program. Capiche? We good? Great. So that is the framework that we're going to be going through for 30 days. And these cohorts are powerful. So I'm not going to say what date we're on, what month we're on, because this video is going to be there, you know, time immemorial in the program. But, you know, every time the story spread is up, that's what we're doing. If you have any questions, that's fine. That's what we're doing. Essentially, a 10-minute story drop every morning, which gives you the positioning and the prompt and the psychology behind the story. You use your own lens, right, to create these stories based on the prompt, your own experiences, your own situations. I'm looking forward to reading what you guys have to say, because you guys have got all led amazing lives. And let me just tell you something. Sometimes the money's in the mundane. The simplest stories, right? What happened in Wawa? What happened when I took my kids swimming? What happened, you know, when I was in the supermarket? Everything's a story, guys, right? Everything has a lesson. If you can glean a lesson from stuff, and I know that you guys have it in you. And so the story dropped 10 minutes. I'm going to try and be concise, which is, you know, challenging for me because, you know, I can be long-winded, concise. Then you're going to write for 20 minutes because it's 300 words. And 300 words looks like, you know, a page of Google Doc. Really simple, page of Google Doc, right? If you go to 2 pages, you know you're getting long-winded, because remember, we want people to consume these stories. And, you know, the story is just going to have one point. So you're not talking about loads of different things. You're not trying to pack a webinar in a story. The longer you scroll, the higher the chance that people are, even though it's important stuff, they're going to say it's not that serious and move over. And then you post. You get in the habit of posting, post before 12 o'clock. So I'd like to see you post before 12 o'clock, guys, okay? Because at 12 o'clock, we turn off, you know, whatever coast you're on. I don't know if we're going to turn off commenting, but what we're going to do is we're going to post it. You're going to post it. You're going to register that you actually wrote a story for the day by registering it on the post of the day, right? In the Facebook group or wherever the group is, whether it's on Facebook or Slack, but right now it's on Facebook. We might move that. And, you know, other people can click on your story. You're going to be encouraged to go around and check out the story and maybe engage, right? You know, if you're putting your point of view forward or if you're persuasive, you never know if you're going to find new followers, probably some sales down the line, right? And then you're going to track your engagement. You're going to track what's actually working, what stories resonate the most, all that good stuff. And you're going to do it for 30 days and your business is going to be the better for it. And it doesn't always have to translate to money, even though I hope it does. There's no money guarantees. But there's so many benefits to this, right? Building an audience, developing messaging skills so you don't have to use an expensive copywriter, getting those ideas out of your head actually out to the public, testing out a new idea or a new offer, conversing with people that you would never usually have spoken to, getting your audience primed for the pump before you actually launch, so that when you do launch and ask them for something, they're already well fed and nurtured and watered, right? All that great stuff. So yeah, this is how the program works. And I want you to know after the 30 days, it goes away. It's transient. After the 30 days, you're no longer in the offer. Okay. And then if you want, you can sign up for the next cohort and we do it all over again. Okay. Because, you know, the more consistent you are in your business messaging, the better it is for you. So there's no coaching or anything like that. Now, what I will do, though, is that maybe once a week, but I don't promise, we might have a State of the Messaging Union where I'll send out a Zoom link and everyone can come on, right? And we just, you know, talk about how it's been going. I'm not coaching. I'm not critiquing anybody's stories. It's not that kind of offer. But the State of the Union is really good because I get to hear, you get to, you get to speak. How's it been going? You know, what are your challenges with it? Are you enjoying it? That kind of stuff. And that's important. Sometimes I do correct things generally if I've seen things generally. I don't go into everybody's offer specifically or content and talk about it. I talk about general things that I've seen, right? So it does course correct you, but it's not a time to get individual critiques. So those are important. And, you know, usually people are traveling, right? People are on vacation, especially if this cohort is in the summer. And the whole point is, even if you're on vacation, right? I tell people when I'm on vacation, I still work out, right? 10, 15 minutes. And as business owners, you should always be able to, yeah, you can relax for the whole day, but you can take 30 minutes to, you know, to take care of things in your business, to make sure that when you get back, things are ticking over nicely. And it's not hard, right? So when people say, well, I'm going to be busy, I'm going to be on vacation, you can turn over in bed, right? Okay. Watch the story drop in your bed and then type out something on your phone, post and go back to sleep. It's not coach programs, no coaching sessions. It's not like that. All right, guys. So to sign up, Sold with Stories. And I told you, right, there's a beginning price and it goes up $100 every week. So it's been going up $100 every week for the last 2 weeks. We are in the last week now. So whatever price that you see on there is the price, right? And it's very reasonable. People have been like, this is charity. Why is it so cheap? Told you why. We're building a movement. We're building a movement of people who've got really big messaging muscles, right? Because those are the people that are going to be able to call in their wealth at will with the power of the written word. Once you're able to do that, I tell you, and it's going to change your business because, yes, video is there and all these great things, TikTok, all these reels and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't beat, right? Being able to type something out or write something out and articulate your value at the drop of a hat, because people can read your post a lot quicker than they can disseminate a 45-minute video, right? And it's more structured. So yeah, reels and all that great stuff is there, but people still read, right? People still read and they will always read, okay? They will skim and they will read and you're going to start to see that you're going to build a following. People will be waiting and wanting to hear from you what you've got to say, right? So I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, this video will be there. It'll be everywhere, but will definitely be in the training. So no one's going to be like, what am I supposed to do? I've just told you. I've told you the framework. I've told you how it works. Look forward for the story drop. which will be on the 1st of whatever month we're starting the cohort. And the mission, should you choose to accept, is take 30 minutes to fire out a powerful story that's going to bring you engagement, inquiries, enlistment, and enrollments, which is going to build your business. All right. My name is Caroline Onyedema, the messaging muse, maven, maverick, offer OG, and the lucrative launch strategist, coming live and direct to you with the Soul with Stories State of the Union address. I'll see you inside the cohort. Bye.